Hello, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Shortly about the Staticus. Staticus is a leading facade contractor in north of Europe. Yeah, I'm told. And currently expanding our activity in United Kingdom. Our responsibility is to build facade shell from the consultancy to the warranty service, including production, design, installation. And the company making 45 million revenue, and 95% of product we're delivering to these countries, which I mentioned already. Only 5% we're doing here in local market. Just I would like to present how facade influence all the building, and I will talk, if you follow the presentation from the previous presenter, we're producing not a tanks, we're producing something between Toyota Prius and Tesla. And we are very focused on energy savings and energy requirements, because the markets where we're working, it's Norway, Sweden, is very demanding. It means in Europe, I don't know other country where it's so high energy demands when in Scandinavia. Like I told, the demands it's in these countries is very high, and the complexity of the buildings, like you see from a picture, what we have made, it's very various, and we see that it's going to a direction that all the buildings is different. We cannot find the standards from externally. It means for each project we need to develop like our own solution. And our mission is to create the building shelf, which will be very environmental friendly, where people can work and can live in a comfortable way. And over 70% of new office buildings, what we have made is certified according to BREEAM or LEED. And this demand coming more usual and usual. Energy savings is all the time is a question where we are entering the projects, and investors want R-class offices or high energy values, and always we're getting a lot of demands which we need to combine in one and to make it the facade most efficient. Architects, because of the land prices, because of the space in the biggest cities in Europe, the buildings became more tall, and this affects as well very much the energy calculations. Also, it's very complex shapes, like I told, like we're using in our facades everything. It means like it's aluminum sheets, it's ceramic tiles, or it's like a composite material or waves on the facade just to reflect the architectural view. And architect vision also is like to use the different materials and do not repeat them. And it is the main challenge how to build the facade, which will be most efficient. Like you see here, is like it's a project in Scandinavia. It's like different kind of shapes, aluminum lamellas. In Great Britain, it's very popular brick walls where we need to integrate in a facade and to build all the connections. And the ultimate goal is just to calculate the wind loads, to calculate the U values, to calculate acoustic, and all these issues just to combine in one design. But in the same time, we have a conflict all the time. It means the facade itself have a requirement for the light. The people and like all the architect demands, we wanted just more lights inside, but in the same time, we wanted to save the energy, And these two things is not very comparable, and they don't work right, because the lighter facade is, the more energy it will require. And I'm counted at least 12 different demands, which it's required for sustainable buildings. And the challenge is that if you're changing one demand, automatically will change like a whole concept of the facade. And we are all the time, every day in that conflict, and we are talking with investors and architects how we can change that. Because in most of the project, this demands is not achievable, or achievable in a very high expenses. And our mission is just to include all these demands in a one unit, just to cut all facade in a simple units, to put all necessary materials in this building. Like I told, materials always is different. We don't using the repetitive materials, always is different. To produce here in Lithuania and to send to the other countries. And to fulfill all the technical project needs. Doesn't matter, or it's like or is simple facade, or entrance door, or is sun shading systems, or ventilated facade, or the skylights. It's all these components needs to work for building demands. And if I will continue to the case where I would like to touch, it's a lot of common solutions how to achieve that. For example, the standard system what we're using everywhere, and it's like this quadroom building as well as built on basis of aluminum glass system. This we can achieve with a double skin facade, where it's a better acoustic requirements, where it's a better UV requirements. We can use like a thermal profiles. Sometimes we need to use a special system like a wooden facade, which can achieve better than passive house requirements. It means is you can later on you can use less energy for the cooling, less energy for the heating, and it's not secret that in Lithuania the cooling cost is higher than heating cost in a glass buildings, and but everybody's thinking opposite, but it true is that. And finally, we have different kind of certification in different countries. The usual one is a BREEAM, where we have a lot of topics. It's like we need to solve the energy, materials, what kind of materials we're going to use, health, water, management, building and communications, ecology and land use, pollution, and process and innovation. All these components we need to include in our design and to put in a facade. And like you see, is a BREEAM and LEED. They meet in this zone. Not everything LEED is covering, not everything BREEAM is covering. And I would like to touch one example and one point about a facade, which is the best project illustrate energy saving and sustainable building. It's a sandstone building in Oslo. For this project, the demand is passive house, BREEAM excellent, and A-class. It's a lot of things in one, and our mission it was to design the facade which will cover all the requirements mentioned on the top. It means the passive house says that like we need to make a very warm walls. Also, BREEAM is saying about light transmission, and you see this building it's like used without any paints, without any sun shadings, and this buildings is achieve the requirement of passive house and better. It means the passive house required 0.15 U value. With this system, we achieved 0.12. For this project, we provided for the general contractor 12 different options how to achieve that requirements from different materials we just showed before. It's a glass aluminum, it's a wood. And finally, we used not a wood, not aluminum, but a special wood, which is like with the polyurethane inside, where we can make it the best parameters. And objectives to achieve the points like a total, like all these three requirements, and it was a main issue because I'm showing this boring information for you, as I understand, like 30% of you is like engineers. It's a facade section which never be in Lithuania, I can say, because like a fire requirements is so high in Lithuania, we cannot use the wood in a system. But here is like we produce the special elements with a wooden core and with a connection which can connect like a building automatically without any scaffolds. We can install that with a crane. And the view from outside is that. It means all the demands like U value, acoustic, fire, and others like a 13 demands. It includes here. And on the top, we build like architectural view just to fulfill architects' needs. But the issue that we achieved like a UL, like I told, like a 0.12, and in a clear zone we achieved 0.76, which is like quite high. And in Norway, doesn't exist other building where we used the better data. The main thing is how to build a facade which absorb when is necessary sun energy, and when it's not necessary, just to cover sun. And here our R&D department made like the mock-up and simulate the sun. And when the sun is, here's a window will be placed. This is in the factory is made. But when is the sun in very high level in the summer, it's all the time buildings gets a shadow. And when it's like winter, the sun getting straight to the glass and achieve and heating the internal premises. And the result, it looks like that. A lot of lamellas, vertical, horizontal with a perforation. Everything is counted just to minimize the energy used later on. And for example, first time in our life, we used aluminum sheets which is not painted, which is like getting some dust all the time. Every day the color of the facade is different, but we used very little CO2 in this building. It means we don't use any chemicals just to paint this. And in the same time, we used the recyclable aluminum, which is also very friendly material. And the project, how it looks, is like that. I asked from the customer, the last like investor, why you are building such a demanding project here. The answer is very simple. Very simple. We're getting more for the renting price. We have a special renters, and the renters they require that. It means like the certificate, it shows that the building gets built in the right way with the tested demands. Our mission was achieved. We got a recommendation, BREEAM Excellent achieved, Passive House achieved, A-class certified the building. Conclusion. We have like always scheme where we're starting from just to talk from investors, banks, municipality, just to look at how it looks the building and what we're going to build. It's a timeline. Investors, architects, they're creating some beauty. Architects have some beauty, investor counting the money and revenues. And somewhere here is a technical project, and the facade constructor coming somewhere here. And intent of the project is quite close, and especially in Lithuania is that distance is very, very narrow. It means if you wanted to achieve so many demands in a project, you need some time, and more time than it is now here. But when it's today it's possible to get. And this is a risk. A risk is all the time when you are coming to the projects very high. It means our message is to move this line back, just to solve all the issues and to build the facade according agreed design. Move as soon as possible, just in that direction. Only in that way, if we're moving, we can achieve very demanding, very high performance facades. And just to get a view about our buildings, so we're sitting now in a quadroom building where also building certified according BREEAM very good. It's NCC headquarters in Oslo, also certified about green very good. And everywhere we follow the same process. It means we're collecting all the demands and trying to achieve that in a facade. And only when we achieved all the data, we're transferring all the data to engineering system just to calculate the heat, to calculate the cooling, to calculate our energy resources and management systems. Statoil in the very north of Norway, where is all the time is dark and snow. BREEAM very good. Gullfaks in Stavanger as well as like a BREEAM excellent. And in order to achieve a BREEAM excellent, we accounted it needs for facade, it's needed approximately 1 year period of time for design. Only in that period of time we can achieve all the data, because all the time it's a question how to achieve, because non-standard system, exposed solutions, you need to test them, and we need some time for that. Ablehus in Norway, Trondheim is also BREEAM excellent. My message in this conference that facade is becoming more and more demanding in the future. External finishes, it's a lot of them everywhere in USA, in Australia, in Japan. When we're talking, I'm sure that somebody invented a new material outside of a facade. It means we need to integrate all this beauty in a facade and to achieve the best facade performance. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much. It looks like there's no two same facades, right? I mean, every is like a tailor-made according to what you've been showing us.
It's from outside, yes. From inside, no.
Okay.
It's like somewhere we need to be competitive, and inside all the sandwich we're trying to get repetitive, and from outside we're making all the beauties different.
Who's designing that? Is it you as a contractor or
it's a
architect?
combination architect, investor, and facade constructor.
Okay. Okay. So you need to be flexible in that way, right?
Exactly.
Good. We have a question, and the question is: do sustainable facades pay in the long run? I mean, they are probably, assumably, more expensive, but do they pay off in the life cycle of the building?
One of the example is, I do not have a photo, but in this building here, in the entrance place, it's a lot of screens. We're counting every day how much energy we are using, like per day, per hour in a life. And this shows how much we invest. Like one line is like how much invest into the building, and how much we are getting back in a savings of energy. And it shows that it's needed approximately 10 years just to get back all money.
So you have like a chart showing when your investment will pay off?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sounds genius.
But it's like, of course, it's not an hour. It's like the investor measuring that, and it works like advertising for the future tenants.
Okay. And there's another question related to, you mentioned that the owner of this particular project in Oslo requested the specific solutions for the facade because the tenants were demanding that, the occupiers were demanding, and basically because of the competition in the market. Do you see the same aspect in the Baltics as well?
If Arvidas will close the eyes, I can say.
Or the years.
Yeah, but it's difficult to say. We need to ask investors here. But we're meeting a lot of customers from outside. Like all these buildings, we're building together with investors, architects, and sometimes municipality. And everybody came into Lithuania just to see the mock-up, and we're asking about the commercial buildings here around. And what they said personally, that the trust is created if it's building certified according to international certificate. If it is trust, they're gonna go in this project and to pay maybe more than building which haven't any certificates, and especially energy saving certificates. And in Scandinavia it works. And for example, this company is using only all buildings is certified according to BREEAM, and they're keeping that like competitive advantages against the other like competitors. It means somebody is paying more,
or just being more loyal. Yeah, but we'll come back to that topic during the conference. Yeah,
brainstorm.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. One more question. One more question. What kind of question, Eugenio? Do you see the trend of developers asking for sustainable facade solutions more frequently? I guess you answered that already, right? Yeah. That it's becoming demanding. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.